Welcome back. The Toronto Raptors' Nick Nurse is a coaching legend, accomplishing in less than 3 seasons what most NBA coaches only dream of in an entire career. But it took decades to get to the big leagues, with 15 teams and 4 countries along the way. W5's Molly Thomas follows Coach Nurse through a year like no other, both on and off the court.
February 8th, 2020, when the Raptors still played home games in Toronto.
Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Before COVID and the most unpredictable year of our lives, Nick Nurse's team was on a 13-game winning streak. Passionate, persuasive, always working the sidelines, and certainly at the center of it all. It was during the Raptors' exhilarating run in 2019.
Defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
When Nick Nurse became a household name. Fans across the country jumped on the basketball bandwagon.
Curry lets it fly.
As we, the North, won it all for the first time in NBA history.
NBA champions!
It was also Nurse's rookie year as head coach.
It happened!
Nick, let's go back to the greatest moment of the championship game. The buzzer goes off, the crowd goes wild. What are you thinking?
Well, it was really something. You know, you get up every day for so many months striving to get to the top of the mountain there, and you finally do it. That kind of rushes out of you, and that comes out of you a little bit. For me, it's always the player's moment. I was extremely happy for them. Wanted to watch them celebrate. Was thinking about finding my family and celebrating with them as quickly as possible. It was amazing. There was nothing like it.
But things are a little bit different now.
The Toronto Raptors moving into their home away from home.
COVID has changed the game. The team was forced to relocate to Tampa, Florida from Toronto.
How would you describe this ride?
Well, there's never a dull moment.
And Nick Nurse did not like the whistle tonight, and he's letting Carroll know it.
You're having to be really fluid and being able to change and make adjustments and adapt and pick yourself up a lot. You got to make sure your positivity starts with yourself, that you can kind of portray that to everybody, because it is difficult in many fronts.
COVID testing, schedule changes, and a big adjustment for Coach Nurse, having to mask up. He's been criticized for not doing it right.
The hardest part for me is that now that we have to wear them in games, the players can't either A, understand me or hear me. After the third time, you know, Kyle Lowry will say, I can't hear what you're saying, so I'll try to quick pull it down and pull it back up or something. So it's just a little bit of getting used to.
And you're far from Toronto. We missed you guys.
Yeah, well, that's it. Everybody had to uproot as well. But we're super happy to be working, and we're super happy to be able to do what we love, and I think we're getting it together here a little bit.
Rewind to March 11th, 2020. Little did Nurse or anyone know what lay ahead. That night was the launch of Nurse's charitable foundation. A man of many talents, Nurse shared the stage with Canadian rock band, the Arkells.
We were out and having a really amazing night, raising money for the foundation. And then the news kind of flashed in late into the evening.
We are in uncharted water right now.
Absolutely, yeah. Coronavirus has shut down the National Basketball Association.
What are you thinking?
That was kind of the last day of freedom that we've all had. It was kind of a shocking moment that the league had stopped, and you kind of had to let all that sink in, what was going on next. And, well, we all know what happened next, as most of us stayed indoors for a long time after that.
As Toronto streets and stadium seats remained empty, the NBA bounced back 4 months later. But this time in Orlando, in what came to be known as the NBA bubble, where teams were quarantined on one campus to protect them from COVID. But even an airtight arena couldn't contain the racial unrest in America sparked by the death of George Floyd.
No justice, no peace!
The Raptors were the first team to roll up with a plea for justice.
I'm frustrated, honestly. I'm disappointed.
We got to take responsibility as well. Like, what are we willing to give up?
Teams boycotted multi-million-dollar games to say Black Lives Matter.
What did you learn as a white coach about what your players, mostly black, were going through?
Probably the biggest thing I learned was hearing their own personal stories of run-ins that they had with law enforcement officers in their lives growing up. And that's why it's really real to them.
Like, how does that change the way that not only you coach, but you lead and live your life?
Well, then it becomes real to us when they share those stories, and just gives you a better understanding of who they are, why they feel the way they do, where they've come from, what they've gone through, etc., and kind of brings you closer together.
Down 4, there's time left.
Though the Raptors eventually returned to the court, they didn't repeat as champs. But Nurse had taken them farther than most NBA observers expected.
OG with a look, got it! OG Anunoby at the buzzer!
That earned him the respect of the entire league.
Here it comes, the delivery's coming.
In only his second season at the helm, Nurse was named NBA Coach of the Year.
Look at that, man.
Congratulations, Coach.
Okay, couldn't have done it without these guys, that's for sure, right?
Well, let's talk about you as a coach. What do you think is the most important job that you have?
I think the most important job I have is getting these guys to believe in themselves, right? Even sometimes get them to believe maybe even more than they think they can become.
Like inspiring young stars, like Pascal Siakam.
He's not scared to try new things and things outside the box, and he's good with people too. He's a good person.
All right, here we go. Get out, go in. Get out, go in. Once you go in, get back out.
Lakers coach Frank Vogel says he's one of the best in the game.
He's an innovator. He's changed the way NBA coaches in today's game view defense, and the creativity that you can use to survive in the modern NBA.
Really all that comes from, I guess, from me is like scratching my head sometimes and saying, there's gotta be a better way to do this. I'm a little bit of a mad experimenter, mad scientist, and I'll try some stuff, and if it doesn't work, I crumple it up pretty quickly and get rid of it. But if it does work, we'll put it in the toolbox and pull it out at any time.
Dive, pop, swing it, ball screen. Good, good, good. Spacing now. Good. Nice job. Subs, horns.
Nurse has the spotlight now, but his career has humble hometown roots. This is where the seeds of Nurse's amazing basketball journey were planted. Seemingly endless rows of cornfields surround Carroll, Iowa, a quaint American town of around 10,000 souls. And it was here, on a quiet residential street, where 9 energetic kids from the Nurse family grew up. Nick was the baby. His eldest brother, Jim, is 14 years older and still lives in that family home.
He was a ball of energy. He's always had a ball in his hand, and he always wanted to play.
Every kid in the household was athletic, which only made Nick more feisty.
I remember coming home from work when I was in college. First thing we'd want to do is meet me. I opened up the car and had his glove and had a ball, and I'd throw the ball up in the air, and he'd wait for it to come down, and I'd throw it again and again and again. And he was very competitive and had the skills and could hang in there with anybody.
You were the youngest of 9 kids. How do you win in that household?
You don't. You take a lot of losses. You take a lot of losses. I always, people when they ask me, geez, you're so competitive, when the game's going, and I'm like, well, when you start scrapping from the moment you get out of bed, first of all, you better get up early, then you start fighting for some cereal and for some milk and a spoon and a bowl, and it kind of goes on like that all day long, or you're not going to eat.
They prepared you for the tough road to the NBA.
Yeah, we come from an area where hard work and work ethic is really valued.
Nick's father delivered mail and painted houses, and his mom, a teacher, instilled a strong work ethic in their 9 children. Both have now passed.
What do you think they would say about all your success today?
They were really big supporters, So my father passed away before I became the head coach, and then my mother got to see the first part of year 1. And again, just, huge fans, didn't miss a game. Very supportive and very proud, obviously.
Do you think they're looking out for you?
For sure. Especially my mom. I always say my mom tipped in that Kawhi shot that bounced on the rim 4 times. She tipped it in, so yeah, for sure.
Coming up,
the whole town was there and they're going crazy out on the floor.
Laying the foundation for greater things.
It gave me a tremendous place to hone my craft.
When W5 continues.
It was a moment for the history books.
That's a hell of a job.
Canada's coach, Nick Nurse, just dubbed basketball royalty.
Thank you for your hard work.
Congratulations speech. Congratulations.
Selected to coach AllStar Weekend in 2020. A 3-day extravaganza of all things basketball.
He did it!
In the city many consider the mecca of the pro game, Chicago. From hometown fans.
Oh man, hell of a coach, man.
Coach, how you been? Awesome. Congratulations, you have been awesome.
To hometown presidents. And with media from all over the world and megastars around every corner, the new coach from Iowa got his fair share of the spotlight.
Congrats on your win last year.
Thank you.
His proud older brothers basking in the magical moment.
25 years ago, he told me that his goal was to be an NBA head coach. And that didn't surprise me that much because there were lots of signs all the way back to when he was 5 years old that indicated that there's something going on here that's unique. Pretty much everything he's ever done has kind of turned to gold.
The head coach for Team Giannis in the All-Stars, this is his first from the defending champion Toronto Raptors, Nick Nurse.
Nick Nurse is at the top of his game, but the road to get there wasn't easy. It started here at Kemper Catholic High School in Carroll, Iowa.
Nick was not a great athlete, especially when he started.
Nick's high school football coach, Bill Kane.
He was not very tall, he was not very big, he was definitely not strong, but he just worked and worked and worked to make himself better, and then he made everybody else better around him.
That determination made Nick a force to be reckoned with, excelling on the baseball diamond, calling plays on the football field, leaping over his competition in pole vault, and of course, playing point guard on the court. And on all his teams, Nick was the floor general.
People listened to what Nick said, and the coaches did. I mean, seriously, we wanted to know what Nick thought, or if Nick saw something. What did you see? What's going on? He was just like a coach. He really was, and most kids are not like that, but Nick always was.
And this is Nurse coming into the front court, seeing if Kemper can.
In 1985, Nurse's senior year, his team made it all the way to the Iowa State Championship.
Nick Nurse will be the shooter.
What do you remember about that time?
I remember we had a really good team. We had a tremendous coach. I remember everybody was really nervous. It was so loud, the crowd was going crazy. I remember getting way down, coach chewing us out pretty good at a timeout.
Quarterback on the football team, pitcher on the baseball team, holds the school record in the pole vault. He's important. He is smart, the point guard, and a big free throw. Cool as a cucumber, 8-point lead.
We went out in the second half and pulled away and won the one and only state championship for little Carroll, Iowa. It was amazing. The crowd rushed the floor. That was like the best part. The whole town was there and they're going crazy out on the floor.
Nurse was named Iowa's High School Athlete of the Year, and that game paved his basketball path. Nurse went on to play at the University of Northern Iowa after he became a student assistant coach. At just 23, he got his first head coaching gig in England, but there were strings attached.
He said, hey, it says here you're interested in playing and/or coaching. How about both?
Nurse briefly went back to the U.S. to coach college ball, but there were no opportunities to climb the NBA ladder. So he had to return to Europe.
You guys pick up Conlon and McKinney if they're still in.
Where he would toil and thrive for more than a decade.
What did that journey teach you?
It gave me a tremendous place to hone my craft. I was coaching tons of games in lots of less than ideal situations. And one of the probably the biggest lessons I learned was, well, guess what? When the ball goes up, you got to start competing and find a way to win.
Did you ever think about giving up?
Yeah, a couple times. I think everybody's got some rocky moments. You know, there are times when I was either like, okay, I've had enough of being here, or maybe I'm just not that good a coach. I wrote down a few things to do. They all didn't look very good to me, so I decided I better start coaching a little harder and studying a little more to become a successful coach, because I knew that's what I really loved and wanted to do.
His ultimate goal was to coach in the NBA. But even though he had won championships and multiple Coach of the Year awards, he wasn't getting noticed. So Nurse made his own luck.
Trying hard to get back in, even as an assistant coach in the minor leagues, and couldn't really get anything cooking on that front. So, you know, they put a new arena in Des Moines, Iowa, where I'm from, and just called them up and asked them if they'd like to have a minor league team in there, and they said we sure would, and called the NBA, and they said we'd sure love to go to Des Moines, and put together an ownership group and kind of conjured up a coaching job there.
I think you're being humble about that story, because I was reading that you were selling tickets, you were literally getting jerseys, like you were doing it all.
A lot of people that go through the minor leagues, or I always say coach in the backwaters, you know, whether it's hockey or basketball or football, whatever you are, you're popping the popcorn and selling tickets and writing articles for the program and all kinds of things, but you just want to see it succeed.
And like everywhere else Nurse had coached, he was a winner.
But what about D-League Coach of the Year Nick Nurse, who has dreamt of a job at the NBA?
I've played it out, worked hard, and now I just got to let the chips fall where they may.
And those chips finally fell, landing him in the NBA. First as an assistant coach with the Raptors in 2013, and 5 years later, the top job. Before COVID, Nurse and the Raptors were constantly on the road. This trip was to Minneapolis.
There's homecoming, baby.
The closest NBA city to his hometown of Carroll, Iowa. In the crowd that night, friends and family that drove in just to cheer him on. And after the game, Nick made himself right at home.
Hey, gosh, what are you doing?
That's good.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you. See that? Championship ring.
Proudly sharing the spoils of his Raptors championship with loved ones he rarely gets to see.
Hi, Johnny. Hi, Beth.
Connecting with familiar faces from his school days.
Did we dance to this song in high school? No, I'm just kidding. Look at this. It's a combination. Kemper, yeah, Toronto.
It's got the trophy on the back.
And offering words of wisdom on hustle.
When I decided I was going to be a basketball coach, I studied like crazy. Like I read a zillion books, I watched a ton of tape. Whenever anybody let me coach a team in a summer league or an all-star game or a basketball camp, I'd say, I'll do it. The chances were 1 in 10,000 that I was going to get a job like this. But when I got it, I wanted to be ready for it.
Nick, where do you think your drive comes from?
I guess probably back from where I grew up and how I grew up, that we kind of had a thing where you're supposed to use your God-given talents to the best of your ability. That rings true with me. I try to keep that kind of in the front of my mind like every day.
That attitude led to a multi-year contract extension with the Raptors. He's also leading Canada's national team on their Olympic run.
You've become a Canadian national treasure. You know, you're an honorary Canadian. What does that mean to you?
I tell people I've coached in the backwaters my whole life. Now I get two of the greatest jobs in the world at the same time, right? I love Canada. Two of my little boys, both born in Toronto, holding Canadian passports, so it's always forever gonna be part of my life, and hope to stay a long time, that's for sure.
We're happy to hear that. Give us the 10, 20 years, we'll sign the contract.
I might need a new agent.
In the meantime, there's a basketball season to be played far from Nurse's new Canadian home.
What is next for Nick Nurse?
Get to the next game and see if I can figure out how to get a W. You know, I think proving ourselves right. I never like to say we're going to prove everyone wrong. We're going to prove ourselves right.
And while the Raptors have had a slow start to the season, Nick has proven himself right before.